Welcome to Joe's Bar. What conversation can we get started for you tonight? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Joe's Bar. We are live. Thank you very much for joining us. And tonight, we are sponsored and brought to you by the Slam Dance Film Festival. Really excited about that. All weekend long, you're going to hear me talk about it. And rather than drone on about it right now, which I will do after the fact, let's play a little trailer to the Slam Dance Film Festival, and then I'll be back to talk about how you can get involved. That's right. The Slam Dance Film Festival is completely virtual this year, so you can be a part of it. They run from January 27th to February 6th. Discover the future of filmmaking. See the new voices of filmmaking with over 100 films from around the world, including 28 features, 79 shorts, an episodic, and a digital interactive gaming program. You can participate in all of the artist Q&As, all the event discussions, all the panels, and a special blockchain fairy tales project that they'll be doing exclusively on the Slam Dance website there. You can join all of this and get all of this for only $10. That's right, $10 gets you access to all of it. And you can do it streaming on demand, so you can watch all the films you want at any time you want during the time of the festival. And it runs from January 27th to February 6th. And you can check out the link right here down below as it scrolls across here. You can see that's where you go. It is also in the description right now. So click on that link. Go get your pass. It's only $10, like I said. And it's a well worth investment. I've already seen quite a few of these films, and I can tell you they are fantastic. As always, an incredible program. And we're very, very fortunate to have them joining us and being a part of Go Indie Now and sponsoring us tonight and for the entire weekend, actually. So you'll hear me say this again if you come watch us on Sunday. That being said, enough of me talking about exciting things. I have other people to join me to do that today. As always, the VIP guest list is vast and beautiful and wonderful, and I can't wait to have them introduce themselves. So let's go down the line and meet everybody. So Madeline, why don't you start us off?
Hey guys, I'm Madeline Dale. I have a website here. You can check all my stuff out, my blog, my books, my social media. I'm a dark fantasy romance, kind of mixed genre author, and I have a new release that just came out on the 12th, Black Flames. You guys check it out. And it's awesome. I'm excited to be here tonight with you guys. So.
It's an awesome book. Everybody needs to go check it out. All right, Tim, you want to introduce yourself, sir?
Hi, I'm Tim Niederreiter. I'm a fantasy author, and I have a podcast that you can find all my. I actually write a ton of different kinds of books, and you can find them. Geez, Madeline made this look so easy. I'm not going to point at the link, but you can find them all at that link on my profile, on my image here. And yeah, there's a lot of different books: Demon Hunter series, Killer Universe, all sorts of weird nonsense that I love.
Awesome. Yeah, Tim jumped in for us at the last moment. We had somebody who's not with us tonight, Miss Jenna Green, who's sick. Hopefully, all our best wishes to her so that she gets better and recovers, and hopefully we'll see her on the show again soon. That being said, we have our partner, Miss Miranda O, who does a podcast with her. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Miranda.
Hi guys. My name is Miranda O. I'm up from Canada, and I am the author of the Chin Up Tits Out series. So it's 3-book series, and it is a wild ride through womanhood and crazy life stuff. There is sex, love, rock and roll, drugs, African bushes, carnival rides, really difficult discussions like mental illness and racism, but it's like wrapped up in this weird positive sarcasm bubble. So it's really cool. I love talking about it, but I also kind of love sharing the chin up, tits out message, just to keep your head up high, your shoulders back, and stand confident. Life is tough enough, especially in the days that we've seen the last couple of years. So strive for positivity, strive for kindness, and that starts within yourself. So I'm happy to be here, everybody. Thanks for having me, Joe.
No problem. All right, and we have Megan with us. Megan Morgan, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
I am Megan Morgan. I am the author of the sci-fi fantasy novel The Altered Wake, with the someday upcoming Altered Rise. It's done. We're just doing like production stuff. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here, as always.
You know what happens when I see a guitar in the picture. You know what happens.
I noticed that I'm not the only one who has a Fender. But what do you do?
Well, I was going to ask you to play if you.
I mean, like, not particularly well, but I kind of can. Here, I know like a few chords. It's not in tune though.
It's pink. Am I seeing that right?
Yes, it is. It's like a salmon
That's
pink
fantastic.
with the like sparkly pick guard, and her name is Kit Kat, and she's beautiful, and I love her.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Welcome, Kit Kat. Welcome, Megan. Thank you for being here. All right, Adam, you want to tell everybody about yourself, sir?
Sure. My name is Adam Gaffin. I'm a science fiction author, creator of the Cassidy Chronicles. Currently 5 novels in the series. The 6th one comes out February 1st, and got my author copy right here.
Look at that.
Yeah. Complete with the not for resale stripe.
Yes. Our favorite joke here on Go Indie Now with the Amazon resale stripe.
Yep. You can find all of the books, all of the links right here, CassidyChronicles.com.
There you go.
Check it out. That website got totally redesigned a couple months ago, so it is beautiful. Beautiful. I'll give shout outs later to the designer, but she did a fantastic job on it. And I'm thrilled to be here with all you guys. This looks like it's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is. Yeah. Anita says the dreaded stripe.
The dreaded stripe, yes.
Anita's here. Regina's here. Shane is here. So we've got a good crowd already.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. It's 2022. Here we are, right? Same old, though, I think, a little bit, you know?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
How's everybody's January going so far? I can't believe it's almost already over. I mean, time, whatever, you know?
I mean, I'm surviving. Therefore, I have at this point cleared the bar that I have set for myself. So I would say complete success. I'm alive.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I mean, I made it to 32. That's nice. Just said my birthday this week, so it's like, yeah, that was pretty.
Happy
Only
belated
barely
birthday.
made it.
Cheers.
Oh, thank you.
Birthday.
But it was just, yeah, I drink, but I don't actually have an alcoholic beverage here. Whatever. That's the kind of bar attendant I am. Attendee.
Hey, I
drinking
almost
water.
didn't have one just because I've been sick, but it's sitting okay, so we're going with it.
Yeah.
Is that a Cassidy's Chronicle mug there, Adam? Are you?
No. I've had a couple of the ceramic mugs done, but no, this is just a very, very large, well-insulated mug.
Nice.
And my answer for 2022 is that it's off to a flying start. I've got one book coming out in February. I've got another one, which I've just uploaded for pre-orders, which will be out in April. I got a new Vela project all loaded up through March. I have another novel that's going to come out in May. I'm waiting on the cover. I mean, this is a hugely busy month. So I'm just like, oh no. And I actually was a panelist and a guest at an in-person con last weekend.
Wow.
Yes, in person. Yes.
Yay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
co-sign
feel
up
like
in
it was a
Colorado
lifetime
Springs.
ago
It
when we
was
were able to
fun.
do that.
Yes, yeah. For you, Miranda, you it must be you're remote, aren't you? You're pretty remote where you are. No,
When I drive up to my house, half of the house is covered under snow right now. I can't open my back door and I have to dig out of my garage in order to drive out.
Wow.
I haven't left the house in like 3 days.
And here I thought I was the one living in the block of ice.
Oh, no,
Yikes.
man. It has been absurd weather. And then we go into lockdown and then things get lifted. Then we go back into lockdown and then things get lifted. Then we go back into lockdown. It's just this like yo-yo. I don't watch the news because it is depressing, quite frankly. So I'm just like, you know what? If I choose to go out and I walk into a restaurant and they only want to serve me takeout, I'm happy taking it home. But if they'll serve me a cocktail at the bar, then I'm happy to sit there. I'm like, it is what it is. I just went back to work actually after taking 10 months of mat leave off. And so the last 2 weeks, sorry, has been a whirlwind. I have vocabulary again, slightly. I lost it. I really lost it. Holy, yeah.
I was actually at a restaurant recently, and I look up at the TV, and I live in Northern California, so it's the home of the San Jose Sharks. So they were at a San Jose Sharks hockey game on, and they were in Canada, and there was nobody in the crowd. It had an empty stadium. I was like, holy crap, they're back to that already.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't
insane.
get it at all. I was like, all I ask people is just to be nice, because I think a lot of people forgot that. I don't know.
Well,
why.
I would be in snow right now too. I'd be in Park City right now if it wasn't for this. So I would actually be at Slam Dance at this point. So, but
there is an aspect of traveling and like interaction that we do miss, right?
Yeah.
Like, I that in-person con, Adam. Like, I am envious. Like, I used to just love sitting in front of people and chit-chatting, shaking hands, kissing babies. You don't do that now. Don't even come near me if you
keep that baby away. Come on.
Yeah, right. Like, oh no, 6 feet, please.
Did I hear a
con
sneeze?
Almost didn't happen because the hotel, 2 weeks before the con was going to go on, the new owners of the hotel notify the organizers and say, "Oh, we're not doing conventions anymore." To which the organizers basically go, what? Contract? Hello? So there's much scrambling and, hey, look, it's an official Zoom call. We have a cat.
Yay.
He's trying to get on the keyboard.
Of course he is. He's your writing cat.
Yep.
My writing cat is missing right now.
Actually, with Maddie here, it's not official until Harrison comes running through the background and starts screaming.
He's asleep. I made sure he was completely asleep because I was like, yes, we went to bed early. I don't have to worry.
Oh no! Now we're finally getting cat face in screen because
He's
there we
looking
go.
at me.
How's
Here's the second one.
How's the weather out by you, Megan? Are you buried in snow right now?
There's no snow, but it is about as cold as Baltimore usually gets. Today it was like 19 degrees and it felt like 7. And I went to fill up my gas tank and the little, like cover thing would not pop open because it was frozen shut. And I had to pry it open with an ice scraper. It was fun. So I was there at the gas station prying open my and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like almost on empty. Please just open so I can put some gas in this car. Which that never, it does not get this. It does get this cold here occasionally, but it's been like deep freeze for like a solid week. It's been crazy.
Well, I will say if anybody wants to warm up that is cold right now, you just got to pick up a copy of Black Flames. It'll warm you up in the first chapter. It is saucy and steamy. I mean, literally, black flames come off of it when you turn the page. I mean,
That sounds like it could be dangerous. Maybe you should read the book.
here, hey, hang on. Let me put you big on there so you can never show everybody.
There we go.
Oh, dang.
Cat butt and book.
Cat in one
Cat and
hand
book.
and the book in the other.
Look at that. That's superior management for you right there. It's fantastic, though. It's a fantastic read. I was really super impressed by it. So
Your review was very sweet,
so
but you guys should check it out and share, like, his review. Oh wait, it's this way.
Yeah.
This way.
Yes, yeah. 'Cause I don't think I read that book.
I'm here.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, but anyway. I mean, is anybody getting any? I mean, I'm happy to hear, Megan, that Rise is almost here. I mean, it's ultimately,
You know, like, life has been an epic saga for me the last like year and a half or so, and I think that that's been like my grand adventure for the moment. But yeah, the book hopefully will eventually take the place of the far too grand life adventures that I've been having. Like, and it will come and it will get out there. It's just been kind of on the back burner, but I'm also working on, that book has been written for like a couple of years now. It's just been the whole getting it out thing that's been an issue, but I've also been working on a screenplay recently, which is fun and exciting and new territory. And as soon as that's done, I plan to write the third installment in my Altered Wake, Altered Rise, Altered, I don't know, stretch and get ready for the day. I'm not sure what the title
what have you enjoyed about that process? What have you enjoyed about that process, about the screenplay process?
It's completely, like, it hurts my brain to try to do it. Like, in some ways it's really refreshing because it goes, like, spinning out the plot goes so much faster. But all of my friends are like, you're writing this like a novelist, not like a screenplay writer. Like, all of my
it's the hardest thing for a novelist to get over, for sure.
It's so hard. All of my descriptive blurbs apparently are not right. They're wrong. And I'm like, we'll fix that later. They're like, no, we need to fix that now. So it's been a really lovely learning experience, which, that's exactly what I was hoping for. And I'm just kind of rolling with it. It's fun.
Nice. Awesome.
Ooh,
how's everybody else doing?
Screenplay.
What's that, Adam? Say that again.
I was just saying that Megan's brave taking on, writing a screenplay. I can't even. I mean, totally failing at wrapping my mind around it.
Megan, isn't it like an adaptation of an existing story that you have? Or are you creating something completely separate and different with the screenplay?
No, yeah, it's a whole different thing. It's not an adaptation of anything, which I think is probably a good thing because, I think that if I were adapting something that I'd done to a screenplay, I'd be much less likely to be successful at it because the difference between a movie and a book is just so significant. Like, when you look at adaptations, like, there are so few successful adaptations, and you look at something like Lord of the Rings, and it's like they spent years and years and years figuring out how to translate those books into like 3 manageable films, and they did a phenomenal job. And I would not even like that. I can't wrap my mind around the idea of doing an adaptation. Like,
not only did they have to write something and took them that long, they literally had to go to the Tolkien estate and literally act out a lot of the screenplay and show storyboards that they created for it, for them to give them permission to use the property to do the movies themselves. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
The people who worked on that adaptation
sense.
were like geniuses.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's just brilliant what they did, and it worked like so well. And I would not want to have to do it because, that's hard.
It's a
I
daunting
think adaptations
task.
are one of the hardest things to do.
Especially if it's your story that you're adapting, that's a lot tougher.
I wouldn't want to do that. I would be like, someone else can like handle that.
Just do it. I trust your judgment.
Yeah.
Oh, those are dangerous
Don't you
words.
think that's
Exactly right. You're just like, I don't want to know. Actually,
yeah, that's also kind of why so many movies or TV shows from books that do get adapted kind of poorly, because they think, even when the creator or the owner of the rights thinks they've done their due diligence, they still get this. Something still goes wrong in their writing or the production process. There's just no helping it. There's a lot.
There's a lot more to it than
there's
that.
a lot more that goes wrong that can go wrong with a story with so many moving parts compared to writing a book. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Like, writing a novel is like one of the easiest forms of media to produce. I mean, in just overall, even though you just generally you do it all yourself. You're one person, one or two people do the whole thing, but they can do the whole thing, unlike a movie, for example, in most cases.
Well, think about this. Think about this real quickly. Your book into a screenplay, into a movie, right? The screenplay's done. You read it. You're happy with it. They've adapted a lot of what you want in there, right? They've put a lot in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes to a producer who says, we can't do this. We don't have the money for this. We don't have the money for that. We can't do this. We can't do that. And it gets redacted half of what it was. And then they say, well, now we don't have enough scenes, so we're going to have to write a brand new scene that doesn't even exist. We're just going to have a really long shot of the world or whatever, and we'll put that in there. Then we're going to give it to the actors, and the actors are going to interpret it their way and decide that they want to play the character in a certain light or certain respect. The director then leads them to do all of that. All of that being said, maybe, I mean, this is a big game of telephone. Just maybe it gets close to what you read when you first read the screenplay. Then it goes to a studio that has to release it and says, well, we can't market this, we can't market that. You're going to have to re-edit it this way. These are our notes. We don't like this character. We don't like this scene. Imagine somebody doing that who has never read a single word of your fucking novel. They even probably never read the screenplay, to be honest.
Yeah.
They've just saw what the director handed them and decided based on that and the marketing strategy that they have that they are going to do this or do that. Otherwise, they'll never release it. So then you do that and do this. And by the time it gets out to the people who are really excited for it to be out, guess what? It's not even close to the book because so many hands have touched it and so many people who don't know the story have touched it, and that's what happens.
It's like a big game of telephone, really. It's like, on the one end we start with a spoon, and on the other, and then when it comes out, it's a fork. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, it's still something that belongs in the kitchen.
Yeah, maybe
the kitchen.
But on the other hand, it could be a big old sword by the time it comes out, for all we know, or something like that.
I don't know if anyone has watched like the Wheel of Time's adaptation that just came out, and if you've read the original series, they've made an enormous number of changes, and I actually think that was a really smart thing to do because. Number one, I think that it's very difficult to bring that particular series into present time the way that it was written. But also, it's like it's a fresh start. It's like, okay, hey, guess what, everybody? We're not sticking to the books. We're going to mix it up so that way, people are can roll with the adaptations like a little bit more easily. Whereas like something like Game of Thrones, once they started going off script in season 5, it was just an en masse rebellion. Like everyone was angry, like all the time. So yeah, I'm really lucky that I know a lot of like people who are kind of in the film industry. And they really like kind of pushed me to take they nudged me gently into the idea of like maybe writing a screenplay. And so, yeah, like being able to write a story in a like sort of more compressed format is nice. I think that it does lend itself to like a little bit more structure, which is good because a novel tends to grow, whereas a screenplay kind of has to be tight. And also like though, as you're writing a screenplay, you, like Joe said, you have to be thinking about the limitations of like budget, what special effects can you bring in, like how many sets can there be, how many actors can you actually afford to have, like, so you don't necessarily have to have a budget in mind as you're writing it, but it does have to be within the realm of possibility. And then like you can usually like scale it kind of up and down a little bit within a certain range, but you do have, there's more, and I said this once to like a filmmaker, it's like writing a novel is like you go down into the darkness by yourself and then you come back out with like a completed novel. When you're like a filmmaker, you're like grabbing like a whole group of people and wrangling them up, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go down into the darkness, are you with me? And they go with you. So like you have to take a whole team of people down and like bring them back, and everyone hopefully sane and intact. Everyone needs therapy now at this point. It's not just me, it's everybody. Hey,
do you have your buddy going into the darkness? Okay, make sure that you and your buddy come out together, right?
It's a buddy
it's
system.
kind of like a little kid field trip.
Yeah.
It's like an elementary school field trip. Hold on to your buddy and make sure that he comes out or she comes out with you. All right, please.
Exactly.
Come out with extra people.
Yeah. Which wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, to be honest with you.
Wait, we went in with 10 and we came out
that's
with
like
13.
a horror movie, though. Like, we went into the cave and we came out and there were more people than when we started. So,
Yeah.
Like, who are these new people?
If it's a horror movie, you're asking, what are these new people?
Yes, what are they? They look like people, presumably. Yeah.
Wait, how did you survive? Why are you here? You would have been the first person
where
to
I
kill.
saw you got eaten. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, trials and tribulations of a writer, huh? I mean, as everybody here imagined their book as a movie, I would imagine that's probably plausible for everybody here, right?
Yep.
Not so much.
Yeah,
I some of my books I've imagined, but mostly as like one of the things actually weird. One of the weird things I imagine the most actually is kind of the anime opening theme animation thing. What my story, what would go with my story or something like that. But that's the closest I usually get to imagining anything as a movie, because I know my stuff is too out there, technologically speaking and setting wise, to be made into movies for the most part. So I'm okay. I'm fine.
Mine would be too, because it's definitely different realms and everything would require too much. So
I saw it vividly. I can tell you that. I thought it was a movie. It was a nice.
That's good that it read like that, because you want to use your imagination, but like actually putting that on the screen, that's
that's more what I was thinking, is the practical elements. I mean, I can't see that actually ever happening. I do envision my things visually, though. My stuff.
It's exactly why I did. This is exactly why I didn't message you and go, I want to write the screenplay to this, because there's no way in hell I would touch that. Sorry. No pun intended there, but
see, I think actually mine. I have thought about it, and I think mine would be, at least the first one would be fairly easy to adapt, because it's very fast paced. It's very bang, bang, bang. It's moving from scene to scene. And I've also had book trailers done, and not just, which have tried to capture scenes from the book. So there's already some kind of visualization of the book out there, which makes it easier to imagine. Okay, well, the trailer is a minute long. It's a lot easier to imagine from a minute and expanding from there, rather than from a bunch of pieces of paper and creating something out of that.
Yeah,
definitely. I've thought about mine in a TV series, not necessarily a movie, and I've looked at it from two angles. If I were to pursue this one day down the road, because Lord help me, I can barely do daily chores now, let alone this whole new journey. But I looked at it two ways. I said, okay, to myself, if I do this, am I going to want control on what the end product is and what everybody sees out there? Or am I doing this to just say I did it and I don't care what it turns out, but I checked the checkbox off my bucket list. And, you know, having discussions with other creators that have pursued this dream, you know, like if you want to have control, where that starts is writing your own screenplay, like you, Megan. It's you start from the ground up, and you go, once you write this, you become an integral part of the process all the way along. Versus if you don't, you just want to get it out there, then find somebody that sees your dream or sees a version of your dream and then has at her, and you let Jesus take the wheel and let art be art and have it end up the way that it's supposed to end up. And that's the way that it was meant to happen in that case. And again, I don't know what I would do in the future, but I've explored both avenues. And, you know, I explored both avenues when I wanted to create a book. Am I doing it for just a healing point of view, or do I want to do it to make money? Because if I'm doing it to make money, I got to appease the masses. I can't just write a book that I think is freaking hilarious. It has to be funny to the majority of people, and my sense of humor is not appropriate all the time to be in public. So I chose the other way and paid a lot of people to refine it and make it appropriate.
I think that's, you know, I think a lot of people end up going indie because of that whole, or at least you know, there's a lot of times this idea that people go the independent route because they like weren't able to hack it, you know, going like traditional publishing or something like that. Like, oh, they can't handle the rejection letters or whatever. It's like, no, I got plenty of rejection letters, and, you know, I still deal with that on a daily basis. It's that ultimately my main goal as a writer is to present like female characters in a way that I feel like the industry tends not to. That's kind of like a critical purpose for me. I'm not going to put my characters in the hands of, you know, a publishing company that is going to, you know, want to change anything about them. Like I have no interest in, you know, making my warrior ladies sex objects, except for on their own terms. And I'm just like not interested in making them pretty. I'm not interested in making them any less human than they are. And yeah, that's why I made the choice that I did. And so, yeah, when it comes to, you know, adaptations and stuff, and like, I don't know, like, yeah, ultimately, like, even if you write a screenplay, you're like, it's going to end up in someone else's hands. And I guess that is like, I don't know, it'll be like, I'm just writing it. I have no like notion whatsoever that it's going to end up going anywhere at all. I'm just doing it to see if I can. But if it did, then that would probably be like the really scary thing. Is being like, oh, okay, now someone else is in charge. Okay, cool.
So it's a fun creative outlet for you to use to kind of expand your creativity. I like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you know, like it's one of those cases where I had an idea for a concept, and then I'm like, oh, that sounds fun, but I don't really want to like, you know, throw like an entire, like, I don't want to throw like a novel's worth of work into it, but I do want to get it out like a little bit faster than I would something that's like 90,000 words, as opposed to something that's like 90 pages of like dialogue and like, this is the scene and then that's the scene kind of stuff.
Well, if I could make a suggestion to you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I would say to you, if it is an exercise for you, submit it to a film festival or a screenplay contest that gives you feedback.
Yeah.
Gives you coverage, and pay for that and get that and see where you stand, because they will tell you whether they would pass on it or accept it. And of course, obviously, as you know, as it goes through the rounds, you'll know where it kind of stands too, and you get higher and higher feedback as it goes through the rounds. Yeah. So I would highly suggest that before even thinking about making it or or if somebody's tempting you to make it or whatever, look at that avenue and see where you stack in the ranking, because you're at a vulnerable position in the fact that if you put this out to a bunch of people and you get screwed on a deal or something happens, which can happen in this business. This business is awful. This movie business is awful, and it can happen. Yeah, it can happen, and you never get a second chance to make a first impression in the movie business. So if you make a misstep, it's very hard to recover from that, and that's something that. So I always encourage young screenwriters, if they're going to do that avenue, that you can go and pitch it, you can try it, and that's another great exercise for yourself, is to go and pitch it to other people. But I would highly recommend getting some coverage and some feedback on it before you, like professional grade coverage from a studio or somebody who's connected to that, to get an idea of where you stand as far as not only the story's viability, but your viability as a screenwriter.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If I finish this and I go like, oh yeah, that would be cool and that worked, then for sure. It has to pass my test first. If I finish writing, I'm like, oh no, I can't do screenplays at all. We'll just put that in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah. So JD says, but you need cleavage to fight dragons. That's canon. And then he says, many businesses are awful, especially the entertainment business. Oh man, I'm telling you, the dark reaches of the movie business it's unlike anything. I literally think I was in Voldemort's castle. I really do. It's very terrible. It can be very, very awful. So
there are truly, truly lovely people in filmmaking, and then there are people who are nightmares.
Yes. And it's not the people involved. It's the system and the people running the system, usually the gatekeepers, that are usually the ones that are terrible about it. So the business reflects that mostly than the people who are actually creating. The people who are actually creating, I've met some incredible human beings and some of my dearest friends. And so, I don't want to discourage people from saying that it's the people involved. It's mostly the studios and the system that, engages in those activities. So, I mean, there are some terrible filmmakers out there too. Let's be honest.
Hey, there's some terrible writers out there too. Come on, you can't run into terrible people in every discipline.
You got a whole spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, some guys who, Joss Whedon, who deserve to just get their feet tossed into a fire, but I had something stuck in my throat. Sorry, everybody.
I was just reading comments about Joss Whedon on the internet today, and I was like, man, remember in the 2000s when he thought he was like the feminist powerhouse person because all of his ladies actually kicked butt, but now we have Game of Thrones, and there's Arya, and then we have just so much of that now, and all of a sudden it's oh, I guess we can have that and then also not have sexism wrapped up in it. So maybe Josh is not so fantastic.
Yeah, and there was a YouTube video I just watched recently where they went back and looked back at feminist moments that he claims are in his films and in his in Buffy and his series, and they broke it down. This person on YouTube broke it down and showed the misogyny behind it and the arrogance behind it, and it's eye opening. It's once you see that stuff, you can never unsee it, kind of thing. So, I don't know that I'll ever watch Buffy again because of that. So. But yeah,
I mean, and even if it didn't affect the outcome of the show, it's an abusive environment to create it. Is that really worth it? Is the other thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a far different thing for him than it is for J.K. Rowling, right? I mean, J.K. Rowling, her work is more prevalent, as it can be more forgivable, I guess, I don't know what the right word would be, but you can read that and separate from the person a little bit more than then I mean, most people are going to do that with Joss Whedon too. But I mean,
So,
just
it's
seeing
a
this
little
video,
weird,
I
though.
won't tell everybody where to find it. You can find it on your own. But if you do find
I
it,
just
trust
think-
me, you'll never unsee it. You'll never unsee it.
Okay. I just don't think Rowling necessarily is as quite as odious to most people at this point as Whedon is. So this may
Well,
be the bigger
Depends on who
difference.
you ask.
It's
but-
not.
Yeah, I think
it does depend. I mean, I honestly am not a huge fan, but I know a lot of
Yes.
people don't mind her as much as they would mind the behavior Whedon's participated in or whatever.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether or not you're part of the trans community or closely associated with the trans community as to how deeply some of her commentary galled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Though, to
happy
be fair,
subject.
Yeah.
not to stay on the too serious kick here.
I
No,
blame
no,
Megan
seriously.
because she told us we all walked into darkness, so I blame Megan.
No,
for-
but-
Yes. Okay,
Here's,
that's fine. You can blame me.
But in the comments, JD Estrada, who messed up worse, Joss Whedon, Kevin Spacey, or James Franco?
Ugh,
I'm probably going to say Kevin Spacey, but
no way.
and
Joss Whedon by
that's
a
kind of
country
sad for me.
mile.
My favorite movie for a long time was The Usual Suspects.
Joss Whedon by a country mile. I'm sorry.
Oh,
The
really?
odious- yeah, you start reading
Maybe I
all
don't
the
know enough
things.
about him. Yeah.
Well, with Kevin Spacey and James Franco, there's a slight attrition. There's a slight, slight, and I mean very slight. It's a sliver of a slight.
Okay.
But with Joss Whedon, he's like owning it. He's like saying, "No, you all are wrong. I'm right. This is how I look at it." I mean, you read this interview he just did, and he literally just destroys. He doesn't have any atonement for what people are saying. All he has to do is apologize, and he
I
won't
don't know.
do it.
Have you heard of some of the things Kevin Spacey's been accused of? That's all. I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean,
Like literally,
they're
killing
all
people,
pretty
essentially.
bad. But
That's the thing.
yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a little different level for me. But
Yeah.
fair enough. That's just my opinion.
I mean,
pretty
and everybody's
awful
going to have a
at this
different one, I think. But
Yeah.
for me, Whedon is probably the newest of the bunch, so maybe time affects that too for me.
point.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just reading all the stuff that's going on with him, and it's really awful. It's just terrible. All right, let's bring this show down to a fucking the bottom of the barrel.
This is a dark episode.
It is.
It is just
We're
a
sitting at the
little
bar
bit.
stewing now. We're just stewing in the shadows. It's gonna pretend to be Aragorn.
Somebody bring up something happy, please.
Oh yeah.
Kittens, puppies, rainbows.
Where's that cat? Bring that cat, Mal.
There's a dog close. There's a sleeping dog.
Ah,
I don't know where the
dogs
cats
are good. Dogs
went.
will work.
So, she's actually named after a Pokemon for you guys. If you were Pokemon, Eevee.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I know
Really
Evie.
wonderful is Evie.
She was my rescue pet I got for my birthday in 2012, I think.
Huh.
Oh, lovely.
She's my baby. One of my babies.
My daughter loves Evie because Evie can.
Good point,
become-
JD. Good point.
Yeah, she can't become everything. That's kind of why we picked Evie. She can do anything.
She can do
She
it
does
all.
Rule of the house now. So
I think this is the first time in Going Now history that we've had two JDs in the same show. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, look at
Easy.
that.
Gotta start calling one of them Smith and the other one Estrada, maybe.
I, right now, I'm just stretching for anything. So please, somebody.
No,
say
seriously. So,
I'm racking my brain.
no. Seriously, I have something. Actually, like, have any of you ever tried this thing where you, I mean, I don't know. Do any of you ever have trouble coming up with ideas for stories or anything? Because it's not this is one of those exercises that I found really helpful for me a few years ago. These little notebooks here, they're all from 2016. I filled them up in 2015, 2016 because but each one has, they're pretty small. They've got like yay high, short little books. But each one, I filled each page with at least 10 new little ideas. And I did one page a day. And then I have a few other notebooks here from the same series. I did that for about a year, and now I just never run out of ideas. It's pretty good. So just a thought there.
That's a cool idea.
It wasn't actually my idea. It was from I forget who wrote the book, but it was called Choose Yourself. It was some book about entrepreneurship, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's actually necessarily a book that will work for entrepreneurs as much as it will work for writers. So
I saw this person do something very similar, but she would write 10 things that she liked about herself every single day. So she really struggled with her body image and accepting what she looks like. And I'm like, let's be honest, like 100% of us have insecurities about the way we look. So if we took, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, but just to write 10 things that we like about ourselves, and it has to do nothing about our bodies, right? So you do not mention anything about your body because your body is not what defines you. And she did that for a year, and you can see her self-confidence shine through now. So
Awesome.
it's kind of a cool concept, because when you said that, I was like, I know this from somewhere, but it wasn't from the writing world. It was kind of from that positive point of view and self-care and self-love world. And I was like, wonder what else it could work for.
I googled the book, Tim. It's by James Altucher.
Altucher. Yeah, that's the one.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't necessarily know about him, but we don't have to get off on how you can sometimes separate the creator from the work. He's a little bit of a weirdo.
So, like, I have this book that I've had since I was in like high school, and it's called The Writer's Block, and it actually talks about. I don't know if you can even get it anymore.
It looks well read.
It's cubic as well, which is
like,
awesome.
The whole thing many times.
Yeah.
Well,
What a cool marketing gimmick!
Cool. What?
I said, what a cool marketing gimmick.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I found it in like a secondhand shop or something, but like no one had touched it. But yeah, it actually has that recommendation in it. There's like a famous author, and I can't remember, like classical author, and I can't remember who it is, who he kept notebooks with him, and he did exactly what you're talking about. And I don't think it was Hemingway. It was someone else, like in that vein, though.
Like James Joyce or someone like that.
Yeah, someing like that. I don't think it was James Joyce.
Not me neither.
James Joyce did not have the self-control.
Well, the thing like, what was it?
Like carrying around notebook all the time.
The one anecdote of James Joyce is like, how many words? He's just distraught at the end of the day, and his buddy comes by and says, "How many words did you write today, James?" And he's like, 7. And this buddy's like, "That's pretty good for you, actually, though." And Joyce then says, "Yeah, but I don't know what order they go in."
I hope it's not William S. Burroughs, because nobody would understand those notebooks.
Oh my! Well, no one. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't think anyone would be able to read these ones except for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, my handwriting's not that bad. So you can't see it because the screen's.
I can bring it up. Bring it up.
Oh, but
do
yeah,
that makeup tutorial
some
thing. Yeah.
Ideas.
Yeah, it's not too
That's
bad.
terrible.
Yeah. These are just random. Those are just random words. Like, this page, December 15th, 2015, was maybe a little lazy. Now that I'm looking at it, but most of them were better than that. The one I came up with, was it 10 fictional kinds of fictional landmarks, or 10 fictional types of terrain? Actually, was the one that, like fantasy, like instead of a valley, what is it? Instead of a hill, what do you call that? And I came up with a bunch of different stuff like that. And I mean, that's just reaching a little far, but that's the kind of lists I'd make, because those actually ended up going into a book, which is maybe the weirder. It just goes to show my impulse is to make the terrain weird, I guess, because I've done that a few times. That kind of thing. Like, how about we just change the geography? How about that?
I did a book. It was the Artist Way, I think, and it was it focused on creativity. I don't know if any of you guys have used it. It's got like a 12-week. Yeah, it's a 12-week program with writing every morning in your journal, which I ended up just kind of when I could get a chance, because when you have kids, that's how life goes. But it really helped me with my creativity and like my writing flow. I did a lot of it while I was writing Black Flames, and it actually helped a lot. So.
Do you have the Screenwriter's Bible, Megan?
That as well. Yeah.
I do not. I'm like my plan right now is to just like write the thing and like just do it, and then we'll go back and edit it after the fact, which is a very messy, chaotic way of doing it. But my preferred method is chaos.
I think mine's
JD has
right
a couple.
with you, so
JD has a couple questions for us if you guys want to field those. JD says, "Okay, if you could have a stage adaptation, video game, or comic adaptation of your work, which would you prefer?"
That's a very good question. I like
comic books.
We'll
I don't know why, but I think it would be really fun.
I enjoy, of those three, I enjoy reading comic books more than I enjoy watching movies or playing video games. So or stage.
I play Crash Bandicoot. That's the only video game I play, and it's like once every 10 years for like an hour.
No, but a stage adaptation is interesting, but I don't think most of my stuff is very suitable for that with all the flying people and spaceships and bullshit.
It could be done though. I mean,
it could happen. You know, I've written some theater. I've written some plays based on, well, not based on any of my current work, but I was in a playwriting class back in college, and I wrote some fantasy screenplay. No, not screenplays, stage plays. You know.
I think it'd be pretty fun to see mine as a stage adaptation. So mine is take out some scenes. So.
A lot of high wiring in that adaptation.
Yeah. If you've ever read the original novelization of Wicked and then like seen the Broadway show of Wicked, there's a big they cut out a lot of very interesting scenes from the novel, to say the very least.
Yeah, they would totally have to do that with mine. So.
If you, I take it you're talking about sex scenes, at least in part here.
Yes, very smutty sex
No,
scenes.
I mean, the funny thing about that is actually that I just can't help but remember that I guess depending on the theater you go to, you can still watch that kind of thing.
It's true. Right
I mean, not literally, but you know, like I did see an adaptation of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it was a stage play, and that was interesting.
Depends on where you go in Japan. You could probably find that in Japan.
Oh God! Let's not even get into that. Come on.
So in answer to JD's question, I would want like comic book adaptations of like the extra redundant stuff that like got cut out of the book, or like historical things. I think that I've been told multiple times that my book itself would be a really good anime like TV show. So,
how about for you, Adam?
I don't think any of mine would suit a stage adaptation. Even the first one, the scope of it takes place all across the North American continent. It'd be kind of tough to deal with that on a stage. Video game, possibly. Some of the later books possibly could work as a video game. So I'd say it would have to end up as a comic book or a graphic novel.
Cool. All right.
Actually, now that I think about it, though, the one this isn't obviously one of any of our work, but the one video game most famous book to video game adaptation is probably The Witcher.
That's what I was just thinking of.
And those make so much sense because the guy's day job is killing monsters. And so that's your video game elements, and then the story when you're not necessarily as in his direct control of the character is what he's doing. It was what the stories were about when they were novels or TV shows or whatever. So that kind of makes sense, right? Like, okay, so the unusual stuff that you don't necessarily have controls for in the game, that can be separate from the day-to-day, I'm killing a monster now nonsense.
How about that combination?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But JD, there's some really great comments in the chat. JD says, by the way, we need a third JD on Facebook, and the multiverse is complete.
Yes.
The second JD, I'm going to call you JD too, second JD says, so is this a film? No, it's no. Welcome to Go Indie Now. We cover indie everything. So film, music, books. I just happen to have a lot of authors here. So Margaret says she missed it. No, you didn't miss. You can hang out. I appreciate that, though. Yeah, I'd love to hear about the movie, Margaret. Tell me about it. But anyway, yeah. So JD had one more question too. If you guys want to tackle that one, what did he say? TED Talks versus Masterclass, both good and pretentious, but which is more?
I'd say Masterclass is probably more exploitative, if you ask me. But they're both pretty pretentious. I mean, I don't Masterclass because they make you pay to see that stuff. Whereas, sure, they pay the people who do the TED Talks, and they make the people who go to see them in person pay. But you can watch that stuff for free online, so at least that's there. It's not quite as lofty in that way.
Yeah,
And they're short.
Yes, they're also nice and
They're short, yes.
Mm-hmm. You're committing 10 minutes of your life or 15 minutes of your life to a TED Talk, whereas a masterclass can be, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've paid for the privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always felt like the initial idea of TED Talks was relatively positive because it seemed like it was exposing people in general to like new ideas and new concepts. And I've actually been introduced to a lot of really very cool, innovative people who I now follow on like podcasts or Instagram and stuff like that through TED Talks. Whereas masterclass is just kind of like people, like, I don't know. I haven't actually done a masterclass, so I can't comment on exactly what that experience is.
My wife does them.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like a condensed online course.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it perhaps depends on what the masterclass is and the topic that's being discussed. But the one that I joined was like an online course. I think it was several 10, 15-minute videos of somebody talking, and then maybe a visual component, and then homework.
Yeah, but virtually all the the masterclass, like the website, the masterclass is all like most of the stuff in there is like celebrity stuff, right? Like it's like
exactly.
Dan Brown teaches you how to write thrillers, or Aaron Sorkin teaches you how to write television plays. I'm like, dude, why would I want to learn from either of those people about either of those things? Anyway, never mind. All right, my opinion is leaking out. Anyway, maybe.
I was gonna say James Patterson teaches you not how to write, but how to avoid writing.
Yes. See, a lot of writers could use that one though. See, that might actually be helpful to some people.
He said, JD2, second JD says, if you're a big fan of and ahs every third word, I highly recommend it.
That's funny. I'm not actually seeing it. That's actually really funny though, because he's supposed to have some snappy dialogue in his shows, and I just find that's funny. How that's pretty ironic, It's like, okay, so he's not that guy in real life, that's for sure.
That is funny, Margaret, because I'm actually currently in the middle of watching The Great. And or no, maybe that's something different. I'm watching the Netflix show that's just called The Great, which is about Catherine the Great, but it's not called Catherine the Great, but it is about her. And anyway, it's very funny, and I'm enjoying it.
She says the movie that she watched is called Te, which is about a Chickasaw actress and storyteller from the 1920s to the 1980s.
You need to share that movie because that sounds like it would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Very much.
And she says, no, that is from The Great.
Okay. It sounds like something from The Great. And that show is hilarious. 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend.
And the funny thing about that quote, I happen to know this one. That particular quote is actually from a baseball player, Dizzy Dean. So
interesting.
Awesome, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Good point as well, says JD. The chat is humming, everybody. But what was I going to say? I was actually looking at this, talking about series and things to watch and everything like that, because I'm doing an audio podcast now that covers fantasy and heavy metal. Yes, very weird combination, but it's what we love, so we talk
It's
about
awesome too. If you guys haven't
It's
checked
not.
it out
It's
yet.
not as weird of a combination as you might think, Joe.
It's not.
No,
We've
it's
made
not.
more
Like,
things.
Zepplin's music about Lord of the
fantasy
Rings?
themes. Exactly. There's a lot of heavy metal. I mean, as a big heavy metal fan, I got to say, a lot of metal has fantasy themes. It's influential it goes both ways too. You know, it's a cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But,
so
no,
it's called Kingdom of Heavy. If
like,
anybody wants
if
to
you
go
ever
check,
listen to a Rainbow song or whatever,
it's
song by
called
Dio
Kingdom
and
of Heavy. If
music.
anybody wants to go check it out, so we're now on episode 7. So, but I was just thinking about one of the things that we're looking forward to, which is the Lord of the Rings prequel, and it just announced either today or yesterday that it's going to be out on September 2nd. So everybody get ready.
That's what I saw on Amazon Prime
Yeah.
today. I was like, this looks like
The trailer
Lord of the Rings,
is-
but it doesn't say Lord of the Rings. I wonder if it's about Lord of the Rings. And then I tried clicking it and it wouldn't open. I'm happy that it was brought up. Thank
Kids
you.
in the Hall is also on Amazon. There you go. And here you go. Margaret says, I bet one more great person has said that is justification. So. Kingdom of Heavy, do it. Thank you. Yes. That dropped in an instant group chat that I was like, no. Isn't The Hobbit the Lord of the Rings prequel? This goes further back than
not
that.
in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is First Age, I believe they're covering. First Age is, if I'm not
they're
mistaken.
going way
something like
back.
that.
Well, and I mean, they kind of have to because the Tolkien estate kind of sort of would not allow them to actually muck around with anything that's in the series. So they had to go back to the annexes. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure that we will have Second Age. We'll definitely be seeing a young Galadriel, I'm sure. Which is cool. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And Gandalf.
I wonder if there's gonna be if Elrond is gonna be in the show, because I don't know much about that period in the history, but there is that weird part about how Elrond's brother was a human and he's an elf basically, because they're both half elves, but one chooses human and the other chooses elf, and that's an interesting storyline there, because then by the way, Aragorn is descended from Elrond's brother. Whoops, that's canon.
Yes.
That's a weird one, but it's been thousands of years, so hey, who cares? It's not like that there's any genetics in common at this point, we can imagine. And
this will be my one time I jab at you, Margaret, I promise. But if you had gone here earlier, we talked about how the estate was quite picky.
Yes.
And JD the second says, God bless your enthusiasm for Lord of the Rings series. I don't know I have it in me with the way Game of Thrones ended on an uncomfortable long fart.
Yes, that was a long fart. But, if you ever want to see a really long fart about that, you can go back to, was it New Year's Eve 2021? 2020 to 2021, in which I was on the New Year's show and I had to talk about that. That's where I know you can find me ranting about it.
The thing which might save the prequel series is that there's a lot of stuff. I took a course a few years back on Tolkien, and there's a lot of stuff that he touches on in the Silmarillion and mentions here and there, but doesn't go into any depth about.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a huge untapped realm where there's nothing written down. There's nothing that can contradict it. So the writers for that series, they have their starting points and they know where they have to end up. They know what they can't contradict. But other than that, they can do whatever they want. So
expanded universe, yay!
Yeah. I mean, it's like looking at a really old map that says "Here be dragons," and they get to fill that part in. So that might save it more than what happened with Game of Thrones, which is, and I'm probably the only one here. I have not seen. I don't plan to see. So.
No, you're not.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
no,
I still haven't watched the final episode.
During the 5th season, when it was just incessant rape, That's about the time when I quit, and I refused to return. I was like,
That
okay,
sounds
y'all.
like a good
I
time
know.
to quit. Good time to quit.
Kind of like they're doing a huge money-making fan fiction operation. Wasn't that what that fantasy author tried? So.
Yeah. Well, Amazon dumped. I read this. Amazon dropped $250 million with a B for the rights to do this. They had to pay
Wow.
$250 million for the
Wow.
rights. The production, they are talking that they're going to end up spending $1 billion on this
That's
series.
insane.
It is insane. But on the other hand, if you're spending that much money, it's gotta show up somewhere.
But
Yeah,
if it doesn't
coming
show up
from
at some
somewhere.
point in the writer's pockets, it's going to be a bad show anyway. That's the saddest part.
How much money did they spend on The Hobbit?
Yeah, exactly.
Adaptation?
Exactly.
Not that like I don't like I'm like not prejudging it whatsoever. I'm super interested to see it, but like well, I think you're right that the fact that they have freedom to kind of like the writers will have freedom to kind of do what they want, whereas that was always going to be the problem with Game of Thrones, is that they were following a book series and they were actually following it really closely. Like they adhered relatively closely to the books. And then they got to a point where, well, there weren't any more books. And then when they had to go off book and like stall for time, I think is when the whole thing kind of went way off the rails. And so, yeah, the fact that this new Lord of the Rings series is going to like kind of be able to play in an area where, yeah, that they don't necessarily have that kind of framework, it could help a lot. And obviously, like what happened with The Hobbit was, you know, not an artistic fault so much as an interference from higher powers fault.
He didn't need to make it. He did not need to make that. They did fine adapting it in 1978 as a cartoon. If you watch that is closer to the book than Jackson's adaptation.
Yeah, I think that, and you know, I don't know that Jackson was sort of tempted into doing the project with a lot of very lofty promises that, and you know, like I don't know that Jackson necessarily was in it for the money, but certainly the studios were.
Oh no, he might not have been in it for the money, but
the
being
studio
told you can spend a bucket of money.
Well, the studio that he'd originally worked with to make Lord of the Rings was sold in the time period between when Lord of the Rings was made and when The Hobbit was made. It's that.
He's like, what are you doing with
talking
me?
about Lord of the Rings now.
No. One last thing I want to add about this though is that I think that the bigger point to me is that just throwing money at a story doesn't make it better, and that's why it's. I mean, it can really capitalize, but it can't make it better if the foundations are weak, you know. And I think that's my general complaint about the Hobbit movies, how they're just. Yeah, it's like, okay, we've got a great story here, and we added on a lot of extra bullshit. But yeah, there we go.
No, that one's not the Lord of the Catnip. There's one around here who is absolutely addicted. We've got 5 cats.
Oh,
Nice.
Yes.
I love cats. I have 3, so 3 and 2 dogs.
Yeah, 5 and
Bird
5.
covers. Yay!
There's Anita's comment, and then JD had a comment right behind it, which is we blame cocaine.
Okay.
Yes.
So like, I'm gonna push my glasses up my nose. I actually think what happened in the last season of Game of Thrones, and you know, I'm basing this entirely off of hearsay because as I said, did not watch it, but I heard what happened, and I feel relatively secure in saying that the showrunners probably thought that they were going to get a Star Wars series, and so they wrapped things up just way too fast. And then the Han Solo movie tanked, and they did not get their Star Wars series, and so it was all for naught.
Serves them right, seriously.
Yeah.
Finish the job, guys. Anyway.
I agree with that. But you know, somehow this entire show ended up being about cats, and adaptations. And
that's fine. Sometimes that's what happens when you go to the bar. Talk about cats.
That's true. With a dog occasionally thrown in there.
I'm also team didn't watch it. There you
Okay, all right. I
Whoa.
Oh no!
You didn't watch it, just got a little smaller.
That was his
Uh-oh.
abrupt
I feel Annie's out.
Yes.
Cut his mic. No. Oh, here it is.
I don't know what to click.
Speaking of sudden resurrections, I was always really disappointed that the Red Woman did not make an appearance in the Game of Thrones like TV series. What's her face? Sansa's mom.
Oh right, yeah, Lady Stoneheart or Catelyn
Yeah,
Stark.
Cold Hands. What was her name? No,
Cold
no.
Hands. I
Cold
didn't
Hands-
actually read the books. I didn't get that far into the books, but
Yeah, it
I've
was
heard
in the
about that
books,
from
but
my.
it didn't-
But yeah, that was a big missed opportunity, if you ask me.
Yeah.
to address this comment real quickly. Now, if it was a Game of Thrones exit, it would have been like a little bit of trickle of blood, right where Adam.
Yeah,
No, it would have been like a big splash of it.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
And then we would have watched someone die for like 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
horrific,
3 minutes.
excruciating detail.
There you
I
go.
think
Sansa
there
Club.
was
Sansa
a 1
Club.
hour episode and 30 minutes of it was people fighting and dying and being chopped up. I binge watched all 7 series in like a month. I was very pregnant and I
You
was
all-
on bed rest. So it was a great thing to watch when I was
You
hormonal.
all got lucky.
After the red wedding, I cried. After war,
Yeah.
Oh, of
I
course.
cried.
Oh my
I
god.
ate a lot of dinosaurs and Oreos too.
You all got lucky.
3 months or 1
I've
month.
seen I've seen literally 3 episodes of the show, and 2 of them I was at Christmas at my former in-laws, and my ex-father-in-law was interested in it, so we were watching it, and it literally put me to sleep. It was 2 guys sitting by a fire drinking and just talking for like 45 minutes, and I'm going, what the fuck is this? Does this thing move at all? It's like a static shot of the 2 of them just sitting there drinking, and I'm going, what
It
is
took
this?
me 2.5 seasons to actually click on what was going on. And now you asked me what happened, and I couldn't tell you. I don't know anybody's name.
In one ear and out the other.
Exactly.
See,
But my partner had watched it already, so he chirped in my ear. He'd pause. He'd fill the gaps in. He'd play.
Well, that's not the best viewing experience. We
Oh,
can be
it's the
fair.
best way for me. Again, I
Fair
was
enough.
very hormonal. I needed to have those timeouts to recenter me back in, just wrangle me back in. But yeah, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have watched it because I tried, like you, Joe, the first 3 episodes 3 times in a row, put me to sleep.
Well, that's just kind of my experience with the books, to be honest.
My dad loved watching the show until the very last episode of the first season when all of a sudden there were dragons. And he was like, wait a minute, this is a fantasy? And I was like, yeah, Dad. And he was like, well, I don't want to watch this anymore. And I was like,
This isn't fantasy crap. Come on.
That's hilarious.
I thought you were going to say in the end of the last episode when like you thought the most important person of the show died. And then that just continued to happen. You're like, oh, this is a key character. And then they chop their head off. And you're like, I guess I was wrong in that.
What are you sharing here, Adam?
JD had asked if if a fan had done a cosplay of your characters or fan art, and yes,
Oh, very exciting.
that's
That is
actually
so cool.
2 secondary characters.
That is
The
awesome.
blonde is LJ, and the brunette is Allie.
Very
And-
cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
That's so cool.
All right.
That's a
Well,
little bit of grumpy old man energy too. Yeah.
I think we crescendoed the show into a nice pivot point and moved it quite along very well. I cosplayed my own character. That's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love
That's
that.
a really good idea.
Yeah, I would not
Please.
mind doing that.
No.
Yeah. Well, But I have to say, this was an excellent show, regardless of me getting very dark. And I apologize to everybody for that and going down the rabbit
It's the
We're
theory
in the middle
comes
of the
within.
apocalypse, John. Of course the show is not.
Anyway,
the world's slowest apocalypse.
Yeah, well,
for
that's how they
sure.
happen, though. Seriously.
All right. Jay has one more thing he wants to say. He was once warned that supposedly fan art of the human cycle on DeviantArt shipping to people had no business shipping good. All right.
That's a lot of shipping.
That definitely counts. All right. All right. Well, let's go down the list here and let's have everybody tell them. We'll start from the end this time. So, Adam, tell everybody where they can catch you at. Obviously, it's there, but
Yeah. You can find all the books and a pretty much a daily post on CassidyChronicles.com. You can also find me on Amazon, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. That's the only place I don't have the handle is my own name, Adam Gaffin. So you have to look for me just a little bit there. I'll give you a hint. The answer to the ultimate question is part of my handle. Yeah, and that tells you something about me. So, yeah, find me. And don't forget, coming February 1st, the newest Cassidy Chronicles book. And if you notice, the author there, written by Kendra, who's one of the characters, edited by me. These are her stories. She gets to tell them how she wants. I just do the editing.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's a really cool gimmick. I love that. That's pretty cool.
Don't tell Kendra it's a gimmick.
I won't. No.
Kendra,
Kendra, I apologize.
I will never hear the end of it.
I'm sorry, Kendra. Yeah. All right, Megan, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, kind of, sort of, Instagram mostly. Yeah, Megan Morgan. There's a lot of them, unfortunately. I usually am like M3 rights or MM rights, MMM rights, depending on, what the platform allowed for. So I take pictures and tweet and do stuff sometimes.
And everybody go get the Altered Wakes so that you can get ready for the Altered Rises.
The Altered Wake, and you have to read this first, or else the Altered Rise won't make sense. And the Altered Rise is, in my opinion, better because this is just the beginning. That's it. That's all I got.
Awesome. All right, Miranda, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me. My website is mirandao.com, easy peasy. Or you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm mostly on Instagram. I mostly post on Instagram, and that's at @OMirandaO. Or you can just hashtag Chin Up Tits Out, and you'll be able to find me there too.
Awesome.
I love Chin Up Tits Out. Like, what a great title.
It is.
It's a little mantra, man. My mom kept telling it to me when I was growing up. Like, obviously, the tits didn't happen when I was like young, but it morphed into Chin Up Tits Out, and now it's just something that literally my entire family now just kind of and circle of friends uses as a little pick-me-up. So take it, run with it, fake it till you make it, Chin Up Tits Out, whatever the little mantra in your head, just do it for yourself.
Awesome. All right, Tim, you want to tell everybody where they can find you, sir?
Sure. TimNiederreiter.com is my website, and spelling Niederreiter should be easy because you can see it right down there. Yeah, that last name is some tricky spots, people tell me. And /books, Tim, you can find that's all my novels. But /serialized-fiction, you can find all my serial fiction, which is on Kindle Vella right now. Which there are 10 stories ongoing because I'm insane. And then also the podcast is on that same website. You'll be able to find Alive After Reading, which is my podcast where I talk to authors one at a time because it's madness to have this many authors on one podcast at the same moment. No offense, Joe. I admire you.
No, none taken. None taken. It's totally fine.
It's too much for me. Let me put it that way.
JD says it's like Mississippi.
It is like, yeah, exactly. With except it's spelled correctly. Anyway, compared to that Mississippi.
All right, Madeline, you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
All right, guys, you can find everything here. That's the easiest place to find it because I'm all over social media. I'm published widely. I also have a newsletter. You can keep up with what's going on in my newsletter. I share tidbits about like me, what's going on in life, and all my craziness. So yeah, and I also do an author interview kind of on my YouTube channel and on my blog. So check it out.
Awesome. And I'm Joe Compton, and this is Going Now. Congratulations, you found us. While you're here, you might as well just do me a courtesy and smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe, do all the wonderful things that you do to help us get seen. It's great. We get 2 JDs in here because we get seen, and that's pretty awesome. He just found us randomly tonight, so welcome, second JD. We'll figure out how to call you. We'll come up with a better title than the second JD or something. But regardless, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you to the live chat. It was very lively, very amazing. And remember, everybody, that Slam Dance is happening next weekend. And you can get your pass for just $10, 100 films, 100 plus films all over the world, incredible Q&As, incredible presentations, and a fun little game that they're going to be playing. So go check them out, slamdance.com. The link is in the description. Thank you to them for sponsoring the show and for sponsoring this weekend for us. We really appreciate that. And that being said, it's always time to go indie now. And with that, the bar is closed. Good night, everybody.